Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with the return of Dragon Ball figure news. That is right. On this channel, this is the first video of its kind, but if you have been following me since the original Dokkan Assets channel, I did figure news every other week on that channel, and I am bringing it back onto this channel. I wanted some other different types of content just besides the unboxings to do on this channel, and I thought that this would be a great series to bring back. It also seems like a lot of people really enjoyed it, so I decided, hey, now is as good a time as any, especially since we're looking at all the Dragon Ball superhero stuff. Now, before we do get into it, I want to give you a quick little explanation, I suppose, about how we're going to do things this time around with this series. I'm doing a couple of little tweaks that will hopefully improve the series going forward, so this won't take too long, and I promise we will get into the news lickety-split. But basically what I did last time is every 2 weeks I would take a look at all of the news that dropped on Dragon Ball figure news, or basically DBZfigures.com, and of course the boy Baggy Saiyan's Twitter account, since he also tweets out about Dragon Ball figure news. Now, I would basically just scroll through both of these two from every single tweet and every single news post that was made on both of these websites, right? And with that, it honestly took up a lot of unnecessary time in the video because obviously not all of their tweets and not all of the articles that they post on each website respectively are related to Dragon Ball figures. So what I've gone ahead and do, and you can see the a million Twitter logos at the top of my screen, I've gone ahead and went through both of these websites and pinpointed what I think you need to know for the last 2 weeks of Dragon Ball figure news. I know it seems like a lot, especially for Baggy's Twitter, but I promise you there were so many other tweets in between that, and a lot of these tweets are very quick and snappy. It's just one piece of information, but I wanted to obviously include it in the video because I felt it was important. So hopefully this should not only shorten the length of figure news videos so they're not an hour long, I think it'll also streamline it so you guys know the information that you want to know. So let me know what you think of this little bit of the change in the format in the comment section below. I always love hearing what you guys have to say. As well, of course, as always, I will be leaving a link to Baggy's Twitter and DBZfigures.com in the description. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So, starting us off on DBZ Figures on June 15th, which, by the way, 2 weeks ago, on the recording of this video, would have been the 25th of June, and obviously it is going up on the 26th of June. So basically anything that happened around the 11th or 12th is how far back we're going. So, for DBZfigures.com, starting us off, we have the Dragon Ball High Grade Real Figure King Piccolo and Crew exclusive set. If you are familiar with the past figure news, you will know that we have covered a couple of these minifigure sets in the past. Basically, they come with a bunch of different figures. They are quite small, as you can see down here by the product features, right? You can see Demon King Piccolo is only 4.13 inches, and obviously the rest of these guys are not even taller than him. So these are all high grade figures which are known for being pretty overpriced minifigures, pretty expensive minifigures. All of these figures come with a $230 price tag, at least on the old good big bad toy store. So you can purchase them from there if you want. We do have small pictures of every single one of them. Obviously, we have the full crew here, which is pretty cool. We have pictures of all of them individually. We have Demon King Piccolo himself, which comes with the throne. We have young Demon King Piccolo, which is pretty cool. We obviously have funny Pterodactyl Man. We got Drum and Symbol. And I believe, I actually don't remember all these characters' names, if I'm being honest. It's been such a long time for all these guys since I've last even looked at their faces, so I apologize about that. But basically Demon King Piccolo's crew, and then of course we have the what is that? You'll know if you watch Dragon Ball, maybe the Mafuba, I don't know. But regardless, if you would like to pick this guy up, all of these guys actually, you can definitely do so on the Big Bad Toy Store. I honestly usually don't recommend getting these just because they are so expensive, but I understand if you're a hardcore fan of these guys, because literally when do we ever give figures of these guys? Moving on, this is not figure news, and I will try my best to not include too many things that aren't Dragon Ball figures in figure news videos, but I figured that this was probably important enough to include, we just had the announcement from Crunchyroll that there is going to be a official Dragon Ball Super anime box set, which is basically going to have every single arc from Dragon Ball Super. This includes the Tournament of Power, Goku Black, Resurrection F, Battle of Gods, all that good stuff. It is going to be around $150, and it will ship out in it'll ship out in this year, 2022, and it will be September 20th that this actually drops in. The video will be in 1080p, not 4K, unfortunately, but you can pre-order yours here. And the art on this is pretty cool. I believe this is art from some past Dragon Ball products, but a very good choice. I really like the art style of this for sure. So if you would like to pick this up, definitely would recommend it. I actually might end up doing that myself. So this was pretty cool. We had the announcement and pre-order of the X Plus Gigantic Series Turles. Now, if you are not familiar with the Gigantic Series is a series where the figures are gigantic. Wow, go figure. Basically, they are very big Dragon Ball figures. They used to be made out of soft vinyl and they were kind of squishy, but now, as far as I understand, they are made out of more traditional PVC and are a little bit more heavy figures. It is quite interesting that they decided to give Turles a gigantic figure of all characters, sort of coming out of left field on here, if I do say so myself. But the figure is available up at the Big Bad Toy Store, and you can cop him for $264.99, basically $265, and he will ship in October of this year. So you can pre-order him now if you would like. This figure does look very good. I think that $265 for me personally, right? I'm not that big of a Turles fan, is a little bit too much to be spending on the boy Turles. However, this is definitely not a bad looking figure. I really like the inclusion of the Fruit of the Tree of Might as well. Definitely a very nice touch there. And you can see as well, not only does the Scouter actually remove off of his head, which is pretty cool, they also have a picture of him being held by an actual human being, and that should give you a good idea of what we mean by the Gigantic Series. Wow, this guy is a big boy. We have seen a couple figures from this line already, and honestly, I would really like to own one figure from this line at some point. I don't think Turles is going to be it, even though he is a fantastically sculpted figure, and honestly, if you are a fan of Turles, I can't even blame you for getting this. It's hard to pinpoint like a good price for these really big figures because, of course, it's kind of like once the figure is this big, you can basically just put any price tag on it. It will honestly kind of just be not really something that you would bat an eye on. But if you are a big Turles fan, definitely would recommend getting this one if you would be willing to shell out the money and you have the space for this big boy for sure. But definitely a very nice looking figure. I'm glad to see the Gigantic Series seems to just be getting better and better with every release. We also had the announcement of the oh, I thought there was set 4. My bad. I read somewhere, I swear, that this was set 4. I'm losing my marbles already. You know it's a figure news video when I'm losing my mind by the end of the video. We're already at the beginning. I need to get my game back together. I haven't done this in a while. We have the Dragon Ball Super Draw Cap Rebirth Limit Breaking Version box of 4 random figures. So essentially, we have these 4 in the lineup. As you can see, we have Goku punching Golden Frieza. We have Goku playing with, I believe that is Goten there, yeah, with Chi-Chi running in the background, which is pretty funny. SSBK, and of course the Bingo Vegeta, which is a very funny looking figure. As you can see, we have a February 2023 release date on these guys, and I believe that it is... you get all 4 of them for $58. That seems more correct for me, considering that these figures are not very big. 3.35 inches is approximately the size of these guys. So I'm hoping that that price tag on there is maybe either incorrect or is for all of them, because I don't think that they're even worth the, like, $10 a pop, to be honest, because they are supposed to be like capsule toys. And I don't mean that I don't think that they're worth that and that they're not decent looking in their current state, but obviously capsule figures are meant to be, you know, inexpensive. As you can see here, right, the figure is going to cost 990 yen, which is about $10. So that would be more like $40 for all of these figures individually. Now, unfortunately, I will say the last release of the Draw Cap Rebirth that we got was kind of bad in terms of the quality, unfortunately. So I am hoping that these end up being a little bit better, because I would love to get the Goten, I almost said Goku-ten, the Goten and Goku one, and the Vegeta Bingo one as well. I think that those would all be really cool choices for sure. But yeah, those guys will be releasing later next year, or I guess in the beginning of next year, rather. Alright, so we do have a interesting thing here. I did want to talk about this real quick. I did make a dedicated video talking about all of these shenanigans with the SH Figuarts Gamma 1 and 2. So I'm not going to go into detail about that in this video, because that could honestly be a whole nother video, which, spoiler alert, it is a whole nother video. I made an entirely different video about it. I'll have it linked at the end of the description, at the end of the video and in the description, excuse me, if you would like to check it out and learn a little bit more about this situation. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about with this is, in the past, when I would do these figure videos, I would have a little bit of overlap. I would talk about one story that was on the dbzfigures.com site, and then Baggy would also tweet about it, and then I would talk about the tweets that Baggy made about it. I'm not going to do that anymore because it's kind of pointless. It just makes more sense to literally just talk about the story one time. You have all the information, and then, you know, we don't need to look at it again. So just going forward for upcoming figure news videos for my heads who have been watching for a long time, that is how we're going to do things around here, and I think that'll cut down the video quite a bit. Moving on, again, not a Dragon Ball figure, but I figured that this would be something pretty cool and quick to throw in here. We have a Dragon Ball Superhero Pan t-shirt from Hot Topic. Very cool that we are already getting a couple of items over here in the West. This was definitely not something that I was expecting, but I will absolutely be copping this off the Hot Topic website. So if you would like to, definitely go head over to the Hot Topic website to pick up your copy today. Moving on here, we have another look at the DXF Ultimate Gohan and the Clear Rise Goku Black. So we do have a couple more pictures of this guy later on in the video, and funny enough, I kind of changed my mind from the point that I made this tweet. But as you can see here, we have the Superhero Ultimate Gohan. This is a very interesting looking figure. I definitely like overall the way that he looks. I do think that there is a little something about his overall build that does off-put me a little bit. I don't know if it's that his shoulders are a little bit too wide or something is a little bit weird about his face. I think his face is okay for the most part. Maybe the ultimate hair is a little bit too short, but it is traditionally pretty short. Maybe it's the super, like, a lot of lines in his hair, right? I don't really know how to describe the look, but it's a lot of, you know, those sort of swipe lines that they put in his hair to represent that Saiyan hair look. Very interesting, and we will get some more clear pictures on him later. This guy I did want to share, this of course being the Clear Rise Goku Black. This picture is not that great in terms of the lighting, unfortunately, but I actually do think that this guy looks pretty decent. We have gotten a couple of good Goku Black figures this year, and we're actually getting another one, which we'll talk about later in this video. But overall, I think this is pretty cool. Obviously, the Clear Rise line's whole gimmick, if you're unfamiliar, is you're supposed to shine a light through the figure, and then that basically makes the figure sort of like light up or look translucent. That's why it kind of looks very odd in this color scheme, especially since there isn't a light shining through the display. By the way, that foot base is huge. That is a giant foot base for Goku Black. So it'll be interesting to see if that stays on the final version of the figure. Quick water break. Take a look at the beautiful promotional poster for the GX Materia Vegeta. The posters for the GX Materia line also always look really, really great. Besides the fact that, honestly, I would love to actually own this poster someday and more of these posters, because I do have a couple that I've gotten from Japan, but man, that would be great. Anyway, we have more pictures of the Clear Rise Great Saiyan that is going to be coming out. This is a great looking figure, if I do say so myself. We will get some more angles of this guy later in the video, but these particular pictures were taken at a hobby fair, basically, where they showed off these figures on display. You can see a couple of other things in the background there, but of course, this Gohan looks absolutely fantastic, and I'm really excited to get my hands on this. This is probably the best looking Clear Eyes figure that I have seen yet. This has the same gimmick as the Goku Black that we just looked at, but I think that maybe it's just the color scheme that makes it look a little bit more all put together, with even just not having light shine through it. But it looks very good, and again, we'll take a look at him a little bit more later. So this was something else just quick to note. Very interesting, along with the sign that says that you can't take photos of these figures. Whoops! Obviously, this, of course, being shown at the prize figure fair, right? Next to the GX Material logo, it looks like the GX Materia Vegeta was shown off at the prize fair. Unfortunately, we don't have any pictures of that yet, and if you are uninitiated, the upcoming figure in the GX Material line is going to be a Vegito, so it'll be interesting to see what pose and what moment they pick for that. So hopefully we'll get to see that soon. Moving on, we did have some more final pictures of this guy, and again, we will get some more high quality ones a little bit later in the video, but this was, again, being shown off at one of the places that they show off prize figures before they are obviously released, or as they are being released. And of course, this is the Solid Edgeworks Super Saiyan 1 and 2 Gohan. I know a lot of people were really excited for these figures, and I think that they actually did turn out pretty well. Obviously, these were some figures that were actually produced in Vietnam and not China. If you are unaware, basically these days, all of these Dragon Ball prize figures are either made in China and Vietnam. And unfortunately, every single figure that's been made in Vietnam has had a track record of not looking that great. This is honestly the first figure, at least that I can remember or recall, that has actually turned out halfway decent that has been pumped out of Vietnam. So pretty good. I am hoping that more of this is to come from Vietnam and that they can keep doing a pretty good job with some figure releases. I do think personally that Super Saiyan 1 Gohan maybe turned out a little bit better than Super Saiyan 2. I think that his face just looks a little bit better. It's also a little bit weird because you can't really see the eyebrows with this lighting, but I do think that they both turned out pretty good, and it is interesting to see that they actually do have a little bit of differences. Obviously, they both have the fruit punch on them, and it's basically in the same place, but besides the hair, of course. There is a little bit of a difference on the shading on the gi. You can see that this is a little bit more purple, while this has a lot of white highlights throughout the purple on the Super Saiyan 2 version. Very interesting, but I'm glad that this figure turned out pretty good. This was also something that I wanted to just include in this video as a little side note. Obviously, we have had some Battle of Gods superhero merch. I'm already getting a little bit ahead of myself with reading the tweet, but Battle of Gods didn't start to get proper merch until January 2014, and the film opened in March of 2013. Think about that. That is almost a year later. Absolutely insane. But all of these different figures here were shown off at the 2013 August prize fair. So Baggy is definitely expecting some big things this August. So we will see what we end up getting for our Dragon Ball superhero merch. Obviously, we have a couple of things already released, and I may do a solo video on all of the stuff that we have had announced for Dragon Ball Superhero that is going to be releasing in 2020. Let me know if you guys would like me to do that. I know I've seen a lot of people on the Dragon Ball sort of figure space do like quick update videos for certain news things, so that might be something I do in the future. But for now, we're going to stick with this format, and that's a little bit different than a news video covering all the different things that we're going to be getting this year and how they'll release and when you can get them. Also, Pam Chan, I see you in the reflection there. Anyway, we have some out-of-the-box pictures of the GX Materia Vegeta from a actual crane game place. Obviously, in Japan, the way that you win these figures is you actually get them out of different crane machines, and they have the figures on display so you can see what you're winning, of course. And Vegeta looks great. I really like how they captured that sort of more rounded look that the Saiyan Saga characters had during that time. Of course, Varrock sculpted this figure, one of my favorite figure sculptors, my goat. Also follows me on the Epic Mewtwo account. Thank you, my boy. Gotta mention it every time. But this figure turned out really good. I definitely like the way that this looks, and honestly, it's crazy how they got this to look like it's floating. Like, I was thinking when they announced this figure and I saw this, I was like, man, how are they gonna do this? But Obviously, there is a little stand here, but I guess it is just the angles because you can see the stand more defined here. But even so, I suppose it's just whatever angle that you would display this at. You could definitely get that to look pretty cool. But I definitely like the end product a lot. I think it is very, very nice. Definitely very, very cool. I especially like the way that they captured his face. I think that they just did a very good job getting the art style of that era of Dragon Ball. Very, very cool. Alright, so moving on. This is also a great thing for the European audience. The Dragon Ball Ichiban Kuji is getting ready to release and is slowly releasing across Europe, which is pretty cool. I believe we will be getting this set stateside in August. I think that's when the Amazon pre-order dates say that they're going to be shipped out. But definitely keep an eye out for all of you who live in Europe for these figures to release them. So this was something else that I wanted to know. Obviously, we saw a little bit of a snippet of this Trunks before, but the Retsuden 3 Chapter 1 official product description unfortunately doesn't disclose what the December Retsuden 2 chapter lineup is and just talks about how Gohan and Trunks are from the ROSAT arc, basically. And this is actually two very cool looking figures. It is nice to see that with the little glimpse that we got of Trunks, where was my man at? Here. With the Gohan, you can actually see that the figure looks like it turned out pretty well, especially in the face area. So I'm definitely excited to see what ends up becoming of these two when they finally release for sure. Gotenks seems to be delayed about a week in Japan. I also wanted to include this tweet just because this is obviously some images of the figure out of the box. With certain tweets that are in this video, I probably won't include them in future figure news videos or the type of tweets that I included, but I did want to play a little bit of catch up because obviously it was hard to decide, well, where do I start? And I'll just do it every other 2 weeks, you know. So I wanted to include some stuff to really give you a good summary and a catch up of a lot of the stuff that's been going on in figure news. The world of figure news, of course. Obviously, these two Gotenks figures look really good. The initial announcement of these, they kind of were a little bit skeptical in terms of how they were going to look because I think that these figures were, well, just immediately looked down upon, honestly, because they're in the solid Edgeworks line, which I know a lot of people don't have a lot of faith in and obviously is primarily produced in Vietnam. But I will say these are honestly two of the best solid Edgeworks figures that I have ever seen. I think these guys look even better than the Gohan that we just took a look at. And I think that he turned out pretty well. So it is very nice to see how well these figures turned out. I might even cop one of these bad boys. I don't know. I really like the Super Saiyan one. Excuse me. I need to take a drink of water. Excuse me. Okay. So this was also another interesting piece of news here. Confirmed solid Edgeworks Gohan delayed again to July. It's interesting that they delayed this guy back a little bit, but these days we have been seeing a lot of figure delays, unfortunately, from various different circumstances. But obviously this means that in Japan he will be delayed to July, and of course for us stateside, if you order this figure, we will be getting him a little bit later than that then again. So we have some release times here for upcoming figures, and we will see some more better pictures of these figures in a couple of upcoming tweets. But the July Matchmakers is due to release week 3 in Japan, which as you can see will be a Kid Goku and Demon King Piccolo. Very, very cool set. Definitely going to have to cop that one for sure. The July BOS Gohan is due to release in week 4 of July, which I know a lot of people are also pretty excited about this figure. And the Clear Eyes Vegeta is due to release week 5, which obviously is another figure in the Clear Eyes line, and obviously is a Super Vegeta figure. So Solid Edgeworks Gohan should release hopefully week 2 of July, beginning from the 4th. So yeah, very excited for a lot of these releases. It's interesting that they're also doing a Dragon Ball themed matchmaker set after basically, you know, just releasing a Dragon Ball one, or I suppose announcing it, right, because it's technically not released yet. It is very interesting that they just did this after the Dragon Ball Kuji, right? Very interesting indeed. I don't know if it actually means anything or if it's just coincidence that these two sets sort of got released very close together. I mean, we've literally had the same character with the same pose released almost back to back before, so it honestly shouldn't surprise me, but it is quite interesting to say the least. Okay, so this was also another little interesting factoid that we have. Obviously, we have the production image here, or the promo image more like it. I guess it's technically both, right? Of the Clear Eyes Goku Black. He had over 600 Game Station orders. By the way, Game Station is one of the places that you can go in Japan to play the crane games to get the figures. Which means he has more orders than the Clear Eyes, Gogeta, and Vegito Blue, combined. Combined, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely insane. So crazy that he beat out both of those two. Obviously, if you've been following figure news when I was doing it on the other channel, you would know that obviously Gogeta and Vegito have not been doing as well. I mean, clear to see, I suppose, by this tweet alone, right? But those figures have not been doing that great in terms of new releases. The numbers have not been that high for them too, unfortunately, but it's just because they've been over-commercialized a lot in terms of figure releases. So this was very interesting as well. We basically had a bunch of Ichiban Kuji sets releasing in July, and it's kind of interesting because, well, 3 of them releasing in 1 month is a lot, and I'm not exactly sure where the origin of this came from, but people were thinking that this particular set, right, this is obviously the upcoming movie Ichiban Kuji, was going to get delayed. But obviously, that is quite a lot of Ichiban Kuji sets to have released in 1 month, and especially considering that this Ichiban Kuji set is going to be one of the ones where they give the higher price tag on a lot of these figures. So, worry not, though, for your wallet. A little bit of news related to this will be coming later. But crazy, though, that they originally intended to do 3 Ichiban Kujis in 1 month. That's insane. So this Ichiban Kuji, speaking of which, did release this month in Japan. We had the Android Kuji Finals, aka majority of Western folks can't afford, yeah, because these are another figure set that unfortunately they have overpriced quite a bit yet again. But we have the Android 18 and 17 here. 18's face looks a little strange here, if I'm being honest, but I think 17 definitely looks pretty good. 16 and our big boy Clown here also look really, really good. I think 16's face is maybe a little bit too slim, but it almost looks a little bit more accurate to the manga rather than the anime, because I think his face was a little bit slimmer in the manga, at least from just what I'm remembering. We also have some of the minifigures too that also came out with this set in the pictures here as well. And Dr. Gero, along with the last one prize, Android 16, which of course is the Capsule Corp logo smacked right over the Red Ribbon Army logo, which is nice that that's what they decided to do for it, because obviously that isn't too crazy of a figure for the last one. It's not something super different, so it's not going to be, you know, super rare. Or if you really wanted this figure, you know, you could probably just slap the logo right over this one. With your own little sticker, even though his face is obviously looking in a little bit of a different direction, but like, you know, not a big deal. So honestly, these figures did turn out pretty well. I am happy that the androids did end up getting some love with this new release, but it is quite unfortunate that obviously these guys are part of ushering in this new era of price tags for the Ichiban Kuji figures. It is quite unfortunate, if you ask me, but I am glad that the androids finally got some good figures regardless. These were the small prizes for the Ichiban Kuji set with the androids. A lot of different Cell Saga things here. I'm not exactly sure what this is. I guess it just holds papers or whatnot in the middle of it. We have the different towels, which is pretty cool. Always nice seeing these different little things. I actually really like the Capsule Corp Hope #1 from the Trunks time capsule from the side of that. That's pretty cool. And as well, we also have some different art pieces that I believe these are going to be clear sleeves is what these are printed on. Unfortunately, they are not the original Toriyama art pieces. They are redrawn, which is so strange because they have the original art pieces lying around. I don't know why they don't just scan those and instead of wasting their resources and making a new artist make them. But, oh well, what are you going to do? Regardless, though, moving on, we did have a pretty cool little number statistic for you with Gohan here. My man, 771 game stations ordered this man. Insane, making him the second highest ordered Dragon Ball prize figure this year. Go Gohan, go indeed. Crazy that they got that many orders. This should tell you how excited people are for a Gohan-based story. Very, very good stuff. Go Gohan, go indeed. This was also super exciting. I know a lot of people are looking forward to these two figures, and I cannot wait to get my hands on them. The 7th anniversary Super Saiyan God figures are releasing now in the US. Please, if you have any pictures of these guys or you have been able to cop them for yourself, definitely send them my way. I would absolutely love to see them. I know that you can actually order these guys right now on the Big Bad Toy Store. So if you would like to cop them from there, that is definitely the place to do it. I will be reviewing these guys when we get the actual anniversary on Global in a couple of weeks, because I feel like that's just kind of more fitting for the timing, right? So definitely keep an eye out for that video. But if you see these figures, definitely pick them up. And again, if you do, let me know. Take some pictures for me. Thank you. This was something I just had to include. Not really related to figures at all. But out now in Europe, 25 centimeter giant punches with art from Revival of F, base Blue Goku and Blue Vegeta with this weird pattern on the back. These are basically just like giant Hulk hands. Why? I have no idea, but funny nonetheless. Had to throw that in there. We have the packaging for the superhero Vegeta. Very, very good looking. Obviously, SH Figuarts always knocks it out of the park with their packaging. I will say, I actually did just get Piccolo from a local store of mine today, so keep an eye out for that review later this week. But it's cool how what they did for this box to sort of differentiate these guys a little bit is that they made the text actually silver and a little bit shiny rather than the traditional white. I think that is a very nice little touch. Moving on, once again, we had the release of the Dragon Stars, Super Saiyan Broly, and Super Saiyan Goku. Unfortunately, Fenyon did not do the art for this one. If you're unfamiliar, basically a very popular artist in the Dragon Ball community who is hired officially by, Toei and whatnot and Bandai to do art for a lot of different Dragon Ball things. Did not do the art for this one, which he usually does for the Dragon Star sets. This is following up on a little piece of information that we got from last year, which the next Dragon Stars to release sometime next year will be the Super Saiyan Battle Damage Goku vs. Broly Double Pack, and the Beerus version 2, and the Final Form Frieza version 2. So obviously, we got the release of Broly and Goku. If you are into Dragon Stars, definitely go pick that up. We have some high quality pictures of your boy GX Materia Vegeta. Again, looking absolutely fantastic. Shout out to the boy Omacha Headchala, who always holds it down with these super high quality pictures. Here we can get a better look at the little mini stand that comes with the blast for Vegeta. It is pretty cool. If you wanted to, you could just display this Vegeta without the effect piece if you needed to save a little bit of room on your shelf. But at least the way that they did this, what they made the stand a little bit more discreet, right? It would have been very unfortunate if they would have just made it like a solid black stand like the one that Vegeta has. I don't mind it on him as much, but it would have definitely been a little bit distracting and a bit of an eyesore for the actual effect piece. So it is very cool that they actually made it a clear piece here. And there's a lot of battle damage detail on this Vegeta. I cannot wait to get my hands on this guy for sure. Very good stuff. Talking about Goku Black figures, by the way, this is what I was talking about in terms of upcoming Goku Black figures. The Solid Edgeworks Goku Black special production images. Obviously, the Solid Edgeworks line has been doing these type of production images for a little bit now, and this is really cool stuff. I am actually very excited for these two figures. I have plenty of Rose and Goku Black figures by this point, but I will say in terms of this base form Goku Black, if you flip this guy over, because obviously the Rose pose is the same pose, and obviously they're just changing the hair to have two different figures, but in the beginning of the Goku Black arc, Goku Black is standing, or I guess it's more like flying, over the flaming burning city, right, with this pose, right? Obviously he'd be turned around looking towards the city, but this is quite literally just the figure for that pose. So if you wanted to get some setup related to that, maybe display him in front of like a picture or a little poster of that, you know, DBS Burning City, that would look really cool. So I definitely want to see if I can't get that set up in the future. I'm hoping that this figure ends up looking pretty good. So this was also something just interesting about the draw cap set that we have coming up here. As you can see, this is the promotional poster in a little bit higher quality, but it's interesting because they are going to be released in little cardboard boxes, which is really strange because, of course, the whole point is supposed to be Dragon Capsule. That's why it's called Draw Cap. Obviously, these being sort of like Gashapon toys, right, where they're supposed to come in a little plastic ball. Just sort of strange that they're coming in little cardboard packaging. You can see that little note here at the bottom. Moving on, we did have the Solid Edgeworks Gotenks releasing in Asia. Obviously, this is all other Asian countries besides Japan that Dragon Ball figures release in, and obviously it was already delayed for Japan, which bodes well for Solid Edgeworks Gohan as he may not be delayed for Asia. Very interesting packaging on these guys as well. I've been seeing a lot of Dragon Ball figures pop up with this packaging recently. I'm not sure if they just decided to change up the style, but it is not too bad, honestly. I don't quite mind it. I think it looks alright. This was also just something quick that I wanted to add in here. I probably won't add in too many tweets like this going forward, but I just thought that this was something interesting to note. Recently, Baggy polled the Japanese community that follows him on Twitter for that upcoming movie Kuji, and basically it seems that most people are interested in Turles, followed by Janemba, then Cooler, and then Beerus in terms of the villain. Well, Beerus, you know, kind of being a villain, I suppose, in Battle of Gods, but later on, not really. But you get the point. The villain figures, right? And it kind of makes sense. I figured most people would either be excited for Turles or Janemba the most. Let me know what you are most excited for in the comment section below. I am definitely looking forward to Turles, but I would love to cop myself Janemba because I actually looked into it, and he is literally the only Super Janemba that is not like a minifigure that we've ever gotten, which is insane. There's been no prize figures or no Kuji figures of this guy ever. So it's really cool that we're finally getting one of him. This was also just a little interesting tidbit of information. Kale, I almost called her female Broly, was released 5.5 years ago, and she has still never seen another figure outside of a WCF minifigure, and the only official figure of her is in Berserk mode, and I believe that that is actually a Dragon Stars figure as well. That's the other figure too. It is kind of unfortunate that we have not gotten another Kale figure since then, and especially not like a regular size one. It's so strange to me because everybody loves Kale and Caulifla, from my general understanding, or at least people seem to just enjoy the characters. So it's weird that they haven't gotten figures, so kind of unfortunate. Hope we maybe get some of them next year. Here's some more pictures of Gohan in some different lighting. I definitely agree with Baggy on this one. This absolutely could have been a lot worse in terms of this figure's like turnout and how it ended up looking. So I'm glad that it actually turned out this good. I definitely think that it could have been better, but it absolutely could have been worse. So I'm honestly pretty happy with the way that this guy turned out for sure. This was also something interesting that I just wanted to note. I did not even know this myself, but apparently there are bootleg Dragon Stars figures out there in the wild. This one, of course, being the Super Saiyan Blue hero from the Stars set. Very interesting. If you are a fan of Dragon Stars, or if you do collect these figures, definitely look for the Dragon Stars logo. Obviously, always look for your official Bandai logos, your Toei stickers, all that good stuff. Try not to, you know, end up in a situation where you're owning one of these and you get home and realize that it's a fake figure. Definitely keep your eye out for fakes, ladies and gentlemen. Always a good piece of information to keep in mind when you're collecting figures. Our final round of pictures for ya boy. We have some high quality stuff for the Solid Edgeworks Gohan. Again, I think that the figure actually turned out pretty well. I really like the look of Super Saiyan 1 Gohan here. I'm definitely going to get this figure for myself because I don't have a single Super Saiyan 1 Gohan figure bear the Grandista one, which I have displayed with the Super Saiyan 2 head. So, ooh, that is a very nice picture right there. Shout out to the boy Omacha Headchala again for holding it down with the high quality pictures. So, related to our little story from before, the history of film, Ichiban Kuji, obviously featuring all those villains that we just talked about, Turles, Janemba, etc. And of course, Broly, Gohan, and Goten is going to be delayed. Thankfully, because obviously 3 Ichiban Kujis in 1 month is quite a bit. So I am glad that they decided to delay that to give people's wallet a break. Moving on, this was something interesting that they announced recently. We have a new minifigure line. Let me take a quick drink of water while you look at this. The Great Posing Figures Premium Gashapon. Apparently the line is called Great Posing Figures. I don't know why that's the name of it. It's kind of a strange name for the line, but I mean, I've seen worse, I suppose. Very interesting, though. These are a premium Gashapon, which means that they are going to be a little bit more expensive than your traditional Gashapon. And it's kind of funny that they call these great posing when, like, I think Goku and Vegeta's poses look fine. And obviously Gamma 1 and 2's poses are on point. But Gohan and Piccolo are just standing there with their arms out. And isn't that also like a pose from the Tournament of Power, but with their superhero look? I don't know. Kind of strange if you ask me. But I guess we are going to be getting this. So whenever we get actual pictures of these, I'll definitely include them in an upcoming figure news video. Apparently it is going to be like the Versus series, but in the high grade lines size. If you are familiar with both of those two lines, you'll sort of know what I'm talking about there. Very interesting, though. We'll have to see what happens with these guys when they eventually release. So we do have the November Dragon Ball production images. Obviously, we have a very high-quality picture of your boy Gohan that we took a look at earlier, by the way. Just want to note, I love the little flap of fabric here, because obviously this is sort of folded over his body. Very nice attention to detail that it's not just attached to the other part. Here is the BOS Bardock, which this figure looks pretty great on first glance, but we will be taking a little bit of a look at this figure later, why he's not so great. You can kind of see from the legs there, it looks like they buckle backwards. Not great, and I've been looking for a decent Super Saiyan Bardock figure for a fat minute. I might finally just cave and get the Grandista one and call it a day, because I really like the top half of this figure, but the bottom half, not so much. And Bardock, unfortunately, even though he is my favorite Dragon Ball character rather, definitely does not do that well in terms of sales, so I'm sure that this figure, unfortunately, won't be doing that great either. We also had the Cupa Socket Videl as well in the 2 different color scenes, or color schemes, there we go. Obviously going to release in November. There I am, losing it again. I talked about it in the beginning of the video. This was also just something I wanted to note that's really cool. This figure seems to be based off of this exact manga panel, which I think they did a really good job recreating it. Not only is the hairs sort of like flowing in the wind look captured almost perfectly in figure form, like I said, they even got that little flap sort of flapping in the wind right on the figure there. You kind of can't tell that it's like 2 pieces of fabric uneven on the figure, but I think it's a pretty faithful recreation. I definitely like the look of it. The belt is not brown, unfortunately, but I suppose that is something you could paint. Regardless, I definitely think that they did a good job with this man for sure. So this was quite interesting. The Dxf Goku and Vegeta that are based on their Dragon Ball superhero designs are now being produced and made in Vietnam, which is interesting because originally they were listed under China as where they were going to be produced. So apparently figures can now switch factories mid-production, which is absolutely insane, and I do wonder if that's going to lead to some shenanigans later on down the line, where you may have figures that some of them, when people open them, look great, and some of them look not so great, or if they will all end up looking the same, or what the eventual case will be with that. So we'll have to see. I did not plan on getting either of these 2 figures, so I'll just be taking some looks at the pictures that I'll see on the internet of these guys, and of course I'll include that in future news videos as well. But very interesting piece of information, and doesn't bode well, by the way, for future figures. I'm hoping that this does not become a trend of them switching the places that they're producing them halfway through the life cycle. Now we have November full info, and it has been officially a year since Dragon Ball got a overseas exclusive release back in December of 2021. Of course, the last two being the Manga Dimensions Grandista base form Vegeta and the Grandista Nero base form Goku Black. Not surprising, unfortunately, considering Dragon Ball has not been doing as great as other series in terms of their prize figures. But what are you going to do? We definitely don't need overseas exclusives all the time either, so definitely not the worst thing. This is also the brand new release date for Gohan in Japan, July 7th, so only a 1-week delay for this guy, so definitely won't have to wait too long for him to come out. So this was also something interesting that dropped recently. We have a new Dragon Ball figure series called Dragon Ball Flash, which seems to just be cheaper minifigures that are a little bit more on the action figure side rather than the collector's sort of side of things, with a Ultimate Gohan and a Broly releasing here. Very interesting choices for the first figures of this, and as well, we also had the release of Power Pack Vegito dawn upon us as well, which is basically just the original Vegito, but now with some extra parts. But I did want to go back to this. Sorry, I accidentally clicked ahead a little bit. Very interesting, though. Obviously, we did have a Dragon Ball figure, sort of action figure line come out a little while ago as well. I forget the specific name of it, but they had them at Target, and they were a bunch of little minifigures. So it's, excuse me, interesting. That was lunch. Excuse me, that they had a decision to make, and they made a new version, basically, of that line, because it looks just to be about the same. Maybe with less articulation. It's hard to tell from these individual pictures. Baggy did basically explain in the comments of this tweet here too, that essentially it is basically just a more affordable figure line. And it is a little bit unfortunate because a lot of the time when Bandai says that it's a more affordable figure line, a lot of the time it's just not as great quality for still kind of a little bit too expensive. Moving on past the Power Pack Vegito, though, we do have finally the release of this Ichiban Kuji, the Versus Super, oh my gosh, I don't even remember the specific name of it. It's in the Versus Omnibus set that has Omega Shinron in it. It has Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. It has Perfect Cell. Obviously, this Super Trunks finally is starting to release in the US after 6 months after the Japanese release. I know that a lot of the time we do have to wait quite a bit in the West for figures to drop, especially from Ichiban Kuji figures, but this is quite a long wait. I believe this one got delayed, if memory serves, so it's nice that it is finally getting its release here in the States. This was a pretty cool thing that I wanted to show. This was just at a recent figure festival, where they have a very cool setup of 5 different SH figure arts. Wow, that must be a really expensive display, because those are all the like con exclusive ones, or the exclusive base form Omen rather UI Goku. I was gonna say base form Omen Goku. That's not correct. But obviously fighting the Candy Cane Beam scene with Kefla here, looking very, very cool. I definitely like the setup of this a lot. We also have, from I believe the same figure prize fair, the announcement and debut of a SH Figuarts Porunga and Dende. They do have a SH Figuarts Shinron from a fat minute ago, so I suppose it's no surprise that they are releasing a Porunga. It is going to be interesting to see how much this guy will cost. The original one, as someone notes here, cost 100 buckaroonies. So I am really hoping that this guy is around that price point. This guy will also be pretty big for the SH Figuarts scale as well. So that would not be too bad if he's basically the same price as the original Shinron. I'm hoping with how things are going with SH Figuarts recently, like obviously Gamma being, you know, 70 bucks a pop, not great. I'm hoping that that doesn't bode terribly for this guy. But I am quite excited. He definitely looks pretty cool. And despite Porunga not really doing a lot of crazy poses, there is a lot of articulation points on here. You can see his arm will move here. This part should twist. These different creases in him should have a little bit of articulation. So it'll be cool to see how he ends up articulating for sure. This was also just an interesting piece of information because we didn't actually know, I believe up until this point, the Dxf Gohan was made in China, which is very interesting. This was also something kind of crazy. Apparently the Great Saiyaman Clear Eyes is going to be 18 centimeters, while the Clear Eyes Super Saiyan 2 Gohan, which is a upcoming figure in the Clear Eyes line, is only going to be 15 centimeters. So hopefully it's one of those cases where the Clear Eyes Saiyaman is taller IRL than the official height. That has happened a couple of times, which is kind of funny that they even bother releasing an official height when it ends up being bigger than, you know, the actual figure, or the figure ends up being bigger than the actual size that they listed. Very strange. Also, why release this pose again? We have a bunch of Gohan figures for this pose. Very strange. Moving on, though, this is another picture of Porunga. I guess this is sort of referencing this meme. I'm not exactly sure what this meme is, but this looks cool. I'm wondering if the way that they're going to have you stand up Porunga is with this crazy effect here. I'm hoping that all of this is included and Dende isn't sort of some expansion pack for Porunga. Knowing what Bandai's been doing recently, I honestly wouldn't be surprised. But this is definitely a very good looking figure, and I am excited to see the official details on this guy for sure. We do have some initial factory listings. Gohan is going to be made in Vietnam, which unfortunately isn't a surprise because obviously the Clear Eyes line up until this point has been fully produced in Vietnam. And then the rest of these will be made in China, but as a reminder, apparently now figures can switch factories mid-production, so just keep that in mind. Hopefully Gohan turns out really good though. I'm really hoping so, since that is a very cool figure. So here's what I was talking about with Bardock. My excitement was pretty high for this guy until I saw this image. What is happening with his back? My man definitely needs to see a chiropractor because, wow, this looks painful. And besides that, the muscle detail on my man is very strange. He just doesn't really have a lot of it. These weird, like, just cuts in his body are not muscle definition. They're just, like, maybe ghosts of muscle definition? I'm not really sure, honestly. Very strange. I've never seen muscle definition look like that on a Dragon Ball figure for sure. I think that the figure's overall sculpt, besides the muscle definition and the obvious bend at the back, looks alright. I think his face looks fine. I think the armor looks fine, the Saiyan tail, even the feet, but that's a big turnoff for me, bro, with that weird slant in his back. So we'll have to see how that guy looks on the end product of that one for sure. But we did get the official I almost said SDBH, the Dragon Ball Superhero Kuji poster here, which is really cool. Obviously displaying all of the different figures that are going to be in this set. Again, I think I'll do a video talking about all of the Dragon Ball Superhero figures that are going to be releasing this year in the future, but it's cool that we have the official poster now. As well, we also have a little bit of a preview, if we zoom in here too, on the mini prizes as well. It looks like they're going to be little mini coin purses with some various logos, some mugs with logos on them, and towels and washcloths with different characters from the movie on it. Kind of a shame that they made Gamma 1 and 2 and Pan the smaller ones because, you know, if you're going to, like, display these, right, like pin these up on the wall, like, I have a couple of these and I don't really have a place to put them right now, but when I get a bigger place, that would be absolutely what I would love to do with towels like this. Just pin them on the wall, kind of like a poster or a tapestry. But, like, I don't really care about Goku and Vegeta in this movie, because obviously the movie's about Gohan and Piccolo and Pan. So, I don't know. At least Gohan and Piccolo, though, definitely got the spotlight on this one, which is really cool. Moving on, we did have some multiple angles for this guy, as you can see right here. Mom, it's my turn on the Xbox looking. But finally a figure that I can say that with that actually doesn't look that bad. And I definitely like the look of this guy overall too. And apparently he has no special quote-unquote production images, unlike the Clear Eyes Gohan Super Saiyan 2, which is basically where they just stick the logo in front of him like this and have like a zoomed in version of it. But definitely a very good looking figure. Again, I am super excited for this guy to release. This guy from the Dragon Ball Superhero movie, I will not spoil the very minor scene that this plushie is featured in the movie, but this is a plush that is in the Dragon Ball Superhero movie, and this actually released in Japan recently. As you can see, he has been going for quite a bit online, despite being just a kind of tiny plush, right? He's not really that big as far as I understand. It's not like, you know, like a foot or two big. I think it's like a 6-incher. He's going to be re-releasing in Japan in September. So if you are interested in copping this, again, you know the scene from Dragon Ball Superhero. If you recognize this guy, you can cop him in September. So that's going to be pretty cool. We have the July BOS Gohan. There are no changes to the modeling. In fact, the final production image is just a fancy production image without the background. The release date is going to be July 20th, 2022. So quite interesting, because usually what happens is we'll get these initial production images of the figure, and then they will release a final one that looks a little bit different, but this time they just decided to sort of edit it up a little bit to make it look pretty cool. So I'm hoping that the final figure looks like this, because this looks pretty cool. As well, releasing in July, on the same date actually, is going to be the Matchmakers Kid Goku and Demon King Piccolo, which is very exciting. I definitely want to cop these figures for sure, because obviously we barely ever get Dragon Ball figures, so I'm very excited for that. And then on July 26th, we are getting the Clear Rise Super Vegeta. Again, here's a good example of how the Clear Rise line works, where you're supposed to shine a light through it, and then he looks like he's glowing a little bit. Very interesting effect, very interesting gimmick for a figure line. We did get the final images of the high-grade Boo set. This is the same type of set that we looked at very early in the video with the Demon King Piccolo gang, and these guys actually turned out pretty good. This is unfortunately one of the better releases of this guy, and I say unfortunately for this set, not of this guy, of this set, excuse me, or I guess more like this line, because this figure line has always been super expensive, considering you're just getting a bunch of minifigures with this, and it's kind of a shame that I have to say that this is the best looking one until now, because every previous release has not looked this great, because I have to say, wow, for minifigures, these actually look fantastic. They capture a lot of really good detail despite being that small. I really, really like the look of this overall collection. Again, I would not pay the full price for this, which I think again is around like 200 plus, 230 for all these guys. I would pay for these if I was able to get them for a good price, because this is actually a very nice looking set of minifigures here. And they all look very nice together, especially considering they all have the pink motif going on, besides our potato-headed evil Boo over there. So we have some more final pictures of the Ultimate Gohan release here. And I have to say, with this figure finally coming out in Japan and us getting some actual images of this guy, I quite like it. I was thinking from the original production images, I was a little bit skeptical and also kind of like in the middle how I felt about this guy, but I think that he actually turned out pretty good. I am probably going to get this figure, considering I am fiending for some figures from Dragon Ball Superhero that I really, really want to review. So I'm definitely going to take a look at this guy going forward, but I think he turned out good. I will say, every picture that I've seen, he does have a little bit of like sort of too much white in his hair, but I'm wondering if that's just because the lighting on every picture we've seen has had light from the top of the figure, because this looks a lot more dark looking at it from the back here. So I also, by the way, love that they kept the style from the movie, which, I mean, of course, if it's going to be a figure from the movie, I would hope so. But, of course, here we have the Namekian 5s, or I guess these would be the Namekian 6s, with the rounded tip on the shoe, which is pretty cool. All right. Finally, I had to include this one, even though we've looked at this figure a couple of times. The GOAT Varquo Varroque, still don't know how to pronounce his name. My man was obviously the person who sculpted the Vegeta, the most recent addition to the GX Materia line. Obviously talking about it was originally delayed. When coloring, I tried various things such as marking the edges of the eyes and the inside white instead of a black color, but it became like this time considering the appearance from a distant place. It's fun to try various coloring. Obviously the translation is a little bit butchered there, but I think you understand. He was experimenting a little bit with this figure and ended up getting this as the result, obviously trying to emulate this famous scene. I think he always does a very good job of this, you know, trying to emulate the original source material. So thank you, Varrock, for another solid figure. So this was also another interesting piece of information in terms of some numbers of sales for this guy. The superhero prize figure, Gohan, that we have been taking a look at this whole video, is the second highest ordered Dragon Ball prize figure this year. Absolutely insane. It is kind of unfortunate that this is actually the last prize figure that is going to be released of this guy. Obviously, the only prize figures that we got for Dragon Ball Superhero so far have been Gamma 1, 2, Piccolo, and this Gohan. And by now, all of those have been released in Japan, with Gohan marking the end of the prize figures. Obviously, we still have the Kuji coming up and the SH Figuarts figures for them. But it is quite unfortunate that this is the last one, because if the orders were that high for Gohan, why would they not do other scenes and other forms from the movie if he's doing this well? Because I agree with Baggy here, the momentum of the movie will probably be gone by next year, in terms of like ultra hype for these, or people would just not even care what it is and just slap money on the table to buy anything superhero related. It's so strange to me. But anyway, we do have some final images of the Kuji figures. Obviously, these are from Bandai themselves and not from people who have been receiving them and then opening them out of the box. But unfortunately, Gohan definitely doesn't look as good as the figure that we saw in the original production image. This happens quite a lot, unfortunately, with Bandai, where the final product doesn't look nearly as good. It is weird that his hair looks a little bit thinner towards the top. Like, it almost looks like they squished it in a little bit. In fact, I feel like his whole face looks like it's a little bit thinner, and his face is a little bit more down on the actual, like, section where his face should be. Very interesting. It also looks like, unless I'm tripping, this man leaning, which is not great, because obviously figure lean has been a huge problem, and it hasn't really been a problem for Kuji figures yet, besides the movie Broly that we got, blue-haired Broly, right? But that's a little bit different because his stand was uneven and not actually the figure. So I'm hoping that this is just a production image in the way that I'm looking at it, but that does look like, to me, the top half of him has kind of got a little bit of a lean to him. We'll definitely have to see some more production images, or more final images rather, excuse me, of this guy when we eventually get them. We have Gamma 1 and 2. These guys actually look great. Obviously, if you've been keeping up with Dragon Ball figure news, you would know that the Dxf Gamma 1 and 2 are kind of a bust because they both lean really heavily, which is really unfortunate to see. So these are probably going to be your go-to Gamma 1 and figures. Gamma 1 and figures, Gamma 1 and 2 figures, if you are going to buy them. It is a little bit unfortunate that they were even so lazy with these two, because why did they not make their arm that they're putting on their side the other arm? These figures would have fit so much better together if you had a Gamma 1 with his arm, I guess that would be on his right side, right? And Gamma 2 with his arm on his left, or maybe that's flipped. Regardless, their arms on opposite sides, so you could put 1 and 2 next to each other, and they wouldn't have their arms jabbing into each other like this. I don't know, so weird. They obviously got their eyes correct where they're sort of looking towards the viewer when they're right next to each other, but this just shows how lazy Bandai is, that they decided to not even change the actual sculpt of the full figure. Very, very unfortunate, if I do say so myself. And we obviously have some images of Piccolo here. I was very excited for this figure personally, not just for this original figure, but later on in another Kuji set, which again I'm sure I'll talk about in the future of a figure news video. We have a orange Piccolo figure using this sculpt coming out, and it is really sad to see, but you can already see some seam lines on Piccolo's arms. The rest of this figure doesn't even look that bad. Maybe his teeth look a little bit too big. But the seam line here is really what's getting me. Keep in mind, right, the Kuji figures have gone up in price starting with some recent sets that include this one. Instead of this guy just being like a normal $35 figure, I believe he's $45 if memory serves, or higher. So there should absolutely be no QC issues on this man whatsoever. Very unfortunate to see. We did also have some images of the Shinron figure from the Dragon Ball Superhero Kuji. Obviously, you probably saw those earlier in the promotional poster. I need to stop saying obviously. I think that's just my filler word. I apologize about that. But it looks really good. I definitely like the look of this Shinron. I feel like every time we see a Shinron Ichiban Kuji figure, I'm always like, dang, that man looking great. The one that we are looking at, by the way, the shadow effect is on the lower abdomen, and the back and wrists are not painted separately. The upper half of the main body looks different. I believe, let's go back to that. Oh boy, it's going to be a little bit hard to find it now that I've gone so far down the so far down the list here. But right here, Shinron is screaming forward, I believe it looks like. So I think that this one, not Piccolo, this one here is the one that we're looking at, and this is a older Shinron figure from a separate Kuji. They're comparing them because obviously you can see that the detail on these guys is a little bit different. So not bad though. I definitely like the way that this guy looks for sure. They always kill it with the creature figures. They always look fantastic. I forget the sculptor's name, but it's the same sculptor who always does the monsters for Dragon Ball, and they always look really, really cool. We also have a brand new sculptor on this Gohan. I know a lot of people really like this figure, so as we're going to refer to him as Sculptor W, did a good job on his debut figure, so I can't wait to see what we see more from this man in the future. This was also a cool piece of news for you Dragon Stars fans. The next battle pack is going to be Golden Frieza and Super Saiyan Blue Goku, so it will be cool to see what that looks like when we end up getting it. This was also a huge piece of news. So the next figure in the Limit Breaker line is going to be Ultimate Gohan. If you're unfamiliar with the Limit Breaker line, it is about a 1 foot figure line. It doesn't have a lot of articulation, but it is basically just large scale figures that are a lot more like bigger action figures, and they're a lot more plasticky. But it is really cool that they're actually making Ultimate Gohan. Now, whether that is going to be from the movie or that is going to be from just the Buu saga, I'm not sure if we know yet. That may say in the last couple tweets that we have here. But I digress. Very cool. Always love to see more Ultimate Gohan merch. Keep it coming, Bandai. Also, this was a pretty crazy announcement. I did not expect this. Speaking of Dragon Stars, the next batch of Dragon Stars figures will be superhero related. That's right, Dragon Stars said, I don't care if the movie's in English. Yeah, we're dropping these, boys. So apparently Wave 1 is going to be Goku, Piccolo, and Gamma 1, which is actually really cool to see. I am going to be curious how these guys look. Again, I am more of an SH Figure Arts guy myself, but of course, Dragon Stars figures are infinitely less expensive than SH Figure Arts, so I definitely will not blame anybody for picking those up, especially considering the Gamma 1 and 2 situation. So that's pretty exciting, honestly. I am going to be very hyped to see what those look like. And apparently the next Dragon Stars exclusive is a Super Saiyan Goku, so I suppose that'll be kind of cool to see. As well, for the next Flash series wave, which we obviously saw those guys before, it'll be a Super Saiyan Blue Goku, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, and a Goku Black. By the way, these poses are not what the actual figure is going to look like. These are basically just here as placeholders to just show you, hey, that's the character that it's going to be. This is also interesting because these are all due to release around September and October, by the way, including the Limit Breaker Ultimate Gohan. So obviously that will be after the actual English release. I meant more so that they announced it before the English release, which is awesome. So it'll be cool to see that, and that means that we'll actually be getting to see some Dragon Ball Superhero merch in stores in the US, which will be very cool to see. No specialty stores. These should just be on like GameStop and Target store shelves, so that'll be awesome to see. This was also something interesting that I wanted to take a quick look at. I actually did a figure news video on both of these guys, or they were included in past figure news videos on the Dokkan Assets channel, so I wanted to follow up with these guys. Obviously, these are the Prime 1 Studio Goku and Vegeta, and if you are familiar or unfamiliar, these are basically Bandai's attempt at making official resin statues for Dragon Ball. And when I initially looked at these, I thought that these didn't look too great, especially for the price, because obviously resin statues can be super expensive. But these look honestly not that bad. Obviously, the effects are crazy good, and the overall bodies of Goku and Vegeta look fine. It's more so the faces for both of them that I think look a little bit off. For Goku especially too, we've taken a look at him in a past video, but Vegeta's face does look not as bad as I initially thought with those first couple images, but it still feels a little bit off to me, and I feel like I shouldn't feel that way for what's supposed to be a premium and very expensive figure. But definitely let me know what you think in the comment section below. And finally, unfortunately ending on a little bit of a sad note here, but we do have the finals for the Figuarts Zero Namek Goku. This is a $90 figure, keep in mind. And unfortunately, the quality on this guy is not crazy good. You can see a lot of gapping here at the hair and the head. The arms as well don't look too bad. But for me, this figure, the problem is that the quality looks more in line with a $20 prize figure rather than a $90 premium figure, right? That obviously the Figure Arts Zero line sort of bodes, right? This kind of looks like someone took their $20 prize figure and stuck it on a diorama, which I mean, I guess is kind of what it is. But in the past, it felt a lot more like the Figure Arts Zero figures felt like they were sculpted with the effect parts in mind and felt more premium in quality with their sculpt than this guy has. And this guy also didn't sell very well anyway with pre-orders, so you know, kind of a shame, especially since I know this could have been a really cool figure, because obviously this is a pretty cool looking scene on Namek. But that is going to do it for today's figure news video. If you guys made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what was your favorite piece of figure news and what you're the most excited for out of everything that we talked about today. I am really excited for all the Dragon Ball superhero stuff that we are going to be getting. I'm very, very hyped for all of that. So keep an eye out. I do have a couple of superhero themed videos coming out very, very soon on this channel. And I hope you guys enjoyed the figure news video. This series will continue bi-weekly, where we'll cover everything that's happened in the last 2 weeks of figure news. Again, I'm going to try and work out the kinks with the sort of new format here, and as well, I will try and get a little bit more of a streamline too on some of the tweets and news articles that we look at as well. But definitely let me know what you think of everything in the comments section below, including the new format. And without further ado, I will catch you guys in the next one. Dokkan Assets out. Peace.